I'm so excited to be back. Some things have changed while I was away. Well, I guess for you, it doesn't really seem like I've been gone, but I certainly have been. So I pre recorded a bunch of episodes before I left in the very beginning of November. And now it is December 2nd. So it's been a month since I sat down and recorded, and I'm really happy to be back. It all went by so fast, but I got married and now I need a new personality trait. We had the most incredible time at our wedding. As you know, we got married in Puerto Rico and we got married at the Condado Vanderbilt Hotel on Condado Beach in San Juan. And it was like the most incredible experience. There were some things that I wanted to do like special for our wedding, and I wanted to make sure it was really colorful and vibrant, and it was so perfect. I really wanted to walk down the aisle by myself, and I did. And that moment is like one of the coolest moment, if not the coolest moment of my life. I did a first look with my best friends rather than with Clark. So the first time that Clark and I saw each other was at the altar, and or I guess when the doors open when I walked down the aisle, and just having all of our friends and family in one place was just so magical and emotional, and I don't know, it was like the thing that we had worked for 8 months was so perfect. But now I'm kind of depressed that it's over. We immediately went on our honeymoon afterward, and I'm so glad that we did that because I don't think that we are ready to come back to real life yet. And it's you just don't get that much alone time with your spouse or soon to be spouse on the honey or on the wedding weekend. It feels like there's so much chaos, and we're trying to see everybody that came there for us, and we really wanted to dedicate time for our friends and family who traveled such a long way to see us. So, yeah, I don't know. Our honeymoon was really good. It felt like it was like the first time that we got to unwind and talk about like what had happened over the past week. And we went to St. Lucia and we stayed at Sugar Beach. It's a Viceroy resort. And it was so, so nice. And we did that. We stayed for 8 nights. It was a long time. And then we went to Miami for 2 nights before we flew straight home to Jackson. And we loved it. It was like the perfect week and a half together. And yeah, I was sad to leave this, like, honeymoon wedding bubble where we were talking about how it's so rare that you get time, like, just the 2 of you, especially before you have kids, and definitely after you have kids, where it's just the 2 of you for a week and a half, and I don't know, your honeymoon's such a special time because, like, literally nobody is reaching out to you and talking to you, and so we basically, like, had uninterrupted time, like, we weren't really on our phones, and we went to dinner together every single night, and I don't know, it was so great, and then we got our wedding pictures back, which I basically wanna do a whole episode and just, talk about my wedding pictures. I'm just kidding, you guys are like, "Please don't do that." But, yeah, I don't know, like, every single second was so perfect, and we're so excited to be married, and I don't know, now we're kind of settling into life. We came right back to Thanksgiving, and we hosted Thanksgiving, which we're, like, unhinged for doing that at our house, which was literally, like, 5 days after we got back from our honeymoon, and then I immediately hopped on a plane, and now I'm in Fort Walton for DARM this week, which is gonna be in Miramar Beach, but I'm from Fort Walton, so I'm here with my family before the conference starts, and I'm excited to see everyone and do some recordings. But it's kind of been like go, 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 and when I leave here and I go back to Jackson, I will be there until my next board meeting in January. So it'll be very quiet, and we're excited for that time and to spend Christmas together. I freaking love Christmas. And honestly, for anybody that is considering getting engaged, getting married like before the holidays is so good because when you have like post wedding depression, you don't even have to worry about it because you're heading straight into the holidays. And who could be depressed at Christmas? A lot of people, but not me this year. Okay. I have a fresh London fog. So, on the theme of the wedding and the honeymoon, one thing that was important to me because I love to do this, and Clark is the same way on the food side, I love to stay in five-star hotels and take as much away from the experience as I possibly can. And so we stayed in 3 five-star hotels over the course of 3 weeks. The first one was the Condado Vanderbilt, which I told you about. The experience was, like, incredible. That is, like, the actual venue where we got married as well. And then we stayed at Sugar Beach, and then we stayed at the Nobu Hotel in Miami. And I loved taking away different things and what I'd love to incorporate into our guest experience and owner experience as well, and also things that I would not wanna take away. And I think it's hard because last year we stayed at a one and only resort, the one and only Mandarina, which is in Nayarit, Mexico. And it was truly the most incredible vacation of our entire life, and it was hard not to compare our honeymoon to that because the one and only Mandarina was just named as one of the 50 best hotels by Forbes in the world. So, like, topping that is like, just probably impossible. I guess everything else on the, above them on the list of the 50, I think they were, like, maybe 25 or 26. Um but Sugar Beach, I had really, really, really high expectations of. Like, it was considerably more expensive than the one and only. We were staying for 8 nights, plus it was our honeymoon. We paid for, like, an additional honeymoon thing, which basically means, like, we were supposed to get breakfast in our room, a complimentary, like, sunset cruise, and I don't know, a couple of like, a big floral or a big tropical floral arrangement when we arrived, and it was, like, an extra $1,000, I think, for this honeymoon package or close to that. And our experience at Sugar Beach was different than I had expected, and definitely Clark, like, it was great, but there were some things that we walked away with, like, notes-wise, and just kind of said, for the money and for what you expect on your honeymoon when you spend so much money, we expected it to be a little different. And I understand, like, harsh critics because we're in the space, but I kind of made my own list. And Clark and I had this really good conversation one day at the pool. We were sitting there and we started talking about what unreasonable hospitality means to us. And he's reading the book right now, which I'm so excited about. And for those of you who don't know, my husband is a chef. And so he is like guest experience to him is so, so important on the restaurant side. He's worked in restaurants forever. He's been the executive chef at fine, fine, fine dining restaurants. And the guest experience is just as important to him as it is to me. But he has more of like the F&B side of things, while I have more of the like hotels, vacation rental side. And so together, we're always like, we could literally create like the most badass resort possible. But we were talking about what unreasonable hospitality means to us. And it's funny because I had just done like a TLDR on the book, but I didn't really talk about what it means to me personally. And we curated this list on our honeymoon. And that's when you know that you're in hospitality, when you and your brand new husband make a list of what hospitality means to you. So the first thing that we talked about was anticipating needs. And I think this is so huge when it comes to unreasonable hospitality. So, an example of this, when the night of our wedding, our hotel, when you get married there, they assign the bride and groom a personal butler. And that butler follows you everywhere. And they are wearing white gloves and they have a silver tray and they have the drinks of your choice on the tray. And so our butler had a ice cold champagne for me like, literally throughout the whole night. If I was on the dance floor, the butler would stand at the edge of the dance floor. If I went to the bathroom, he would stand outside of the bathroom. While we were taking photos during cocktail hour, the butler stood next to us and in between shots would give us, like, cold water, cold towels because it was really hot, and champagne. Clark was having mojitos, and I just thought, "Holy shit, like, this is one of the coolest touches I have ever seen in my life." And it is included with it, like, how many times do you talk to a bride and groom who say, like, "Oh my god, I didn't even have time to eat. I didn't even have time to get a drink myself my entire wedding night because we were so busy and we were walking around and talking to all of our guests." And I just felt like that was just such a cool touch because we wouldn't have had time to go up to the bar and to get food, and our butler made sure that we had food, and he came up to me and said, "Whenever you're ready to eat, like, please let me know, and we will make sure that you have a plate at your table." And, like, that was the ultimate anticipating needs, and I understand that that's not possible in the vacation rental business, but trying to find parallels of, like, it is all about this feeling that you get when you feel seen and you feel like someone has recognized your need, and this is, like, a lot of the time the value of spending so much. Like, for our honeymoon, it was the most expensive vacation we had ever taken. Like, we had saved money for this trip, we had taken time off work, we really, like, were looking forward to this so much, and for our wedding, of course, like, right? Like, this is the most expensive time of our life, and to feel like someone recognizes that and the hospitality that you receive is equal to the time and the money that you've put into making this vacation happen is what anticipating needs meant for us. And I don't know, I think that trying to find ways to do that in our space is what creates memorable experiences, and I think that starts with understanding, like, who your guest is and setting expectations really early on. So, when I think of setting expectations, when we first arrived at Sugar Beach, we knew that we had paid for, like, this extra honeymoon package, and they also do this thing called the Sugar Beach meal plan, which is, like, similar to an all-inclusive, but it's not an all-inclusive. Anyway, Ashley, welcome back to Workflows and Espressos. What do you have for us this week?
Hi, Meaghan. At In Haven, our platform brings quality standards to the vacation rental industry, focusing on essential areas like the bed, bath, and kitchen. We partner with hundreds of professional property managers, collectively representing tens of thousands of listings. Many property managers seek ways to enhance their brand's presence subtly within their rental homes. And we work closely with our clients to incorporate branded items such as, towels or toiletries, which really can help guests create a lasting connection with that property manager's brand.
We are tirelessly working to promote our brand tastefully in our home, and it is such a delicate balance. So how does InHaven support this?
So let's look at towels, for instance. We really have two options. In beach destinations, we've printed the brand directly on the beach towels, which helps really avoid mix ups when the guests take them off property and creates natural brand visibility on the beach. And in mountain or ski areas, we can add a discreet branded logo on a towel tag where washing instructions are typically found, just offering a really nice, subtle, refined touch. And the best part about this, it really doesn't cost that much more to add your branding on those towels. You're looking at, $1 extra to add a beautiful embroidered logo on your towel.
It makes all the difference in the world. I'm so excited about this. It's a game changer. How can someone reach out to you if they want to explore this for their own business?
Yeah, so please do reach out to me at ashley@inhaven.com or visit our website. We are always excited to help property managers enhance their brand.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks, Meaghan.
So we like added on these extra things. And when we checked in, rather than like they take you to this main space during check in where you get your keys and you understand the property. And so rather than them sitting with us and saying, like, you paid for this like meal plan and you got this honeymoon package, here's all the things that you can expect while you're here. That wasn't really communicated to us, and so we kind of went in blind a little bit. While they did go over, like, the bare minimum of a couple of things, our honeymoon package was never mentioned, and so I kind of forgotten about it in the, like, flurry of everything, and it took me 4 days to remember, like, "Oh my god, we paid, like, all this money for this extra add-on that was forgotten." And I had to call the front desk and say, like, "Hey, I think I paid for this, but I'm not sure." I looked in my confirmation email when I booked the hotel, and it wasn't in my confirmation email. Anyway, they had to look around, and they clearly had forgotten it, and so they tried to, like, do their best to make sure that we had gotten all the things that we paid for ahead of time while we were there, but it just felt like we were not on the same page in terms of expectations. And it just kind of made me think, and I feel that a lot of the time my empathy can go out the window when you deal with guests, and you get frustrated with the same complaints, or, like a lot of time in our business, we do hear a lot of negative. I think it just put me back into this space of empathizing with the guest when I was the guest, and made me realize that no matter how much money a guest spends on a vacation, yes, there are guests who have more money than anything in the entire world and can afford to go on a trip, and it's not that big of a deal. There are times when people save up for vacation and they plan for it for months and months and months and months, and they're looking forward to it so much, and their expectations are that they get this value of what they feel like they've put into the trip. And I understand it definitely depends on what type of accommodation you're booking, but you get what you pay for a lot of the time, right? And for our trip, I felt like we had paid this money to receive this like 5-star honeymoon experience, and we had to set the expectations. Oh, we paid for this, and oh, I'm confused. I thought that this, and this, and this was included. It just felt like maybe the communication wasn't clear from the very beginning. And this episode is certainly not to like bitch about my honeymoon. It is more just like takeaways that we have. So TLDR on my very long sob story for my honeymoon, which was incredible, is setting expectations is so important. This is what you have planned. This is what is included in your stay. This is what's not. And I think that we can do this by a pre-arrival email, a post-stay email, phone calls, if a guest wants a walkthrough, just ask, right? And I think so much of this is just asking, hey, you are staying here from X date to X date. This is how much you paid. This is what you have added on. These are any concierge services. Here's an itinerary of your stay. We have the ability, and it's very easy to set those expectations from the very beginning. And that is what sets you up for very clear communication. These are how many towels you get when you arrive, right? Like, don't let things be up to the imagination that shouldn't be. And I felt like in this case, it was such a good example of there could have been a better experience for us, and certainly for the hotel, if we were just super clear on expectations from the very beginning. And of course, you're going to make mistakes, and we're going to get in. I guess that kind of leads me to my next point, which is understanding when to make it right and apologizing when necessary, I think is really, really important. And I have definitely been someone who has argued with a guest in the past, and I do think that there's times where the punishment doesn't fit the crime when a guest checks in and there's sand in their bed, right? Like, it happens. Okay, we're gonna have cleaning issues. There are gonna be some times when we mess up. And I think that knowing when to apologize and say, hey, that was completely on us, but also understanding, like, for specific issues, what the remedy will be, and setting that ahead of time and making sure that your team is all on the exact same page, I think is really important. So, whether it is a refund, whether it's a credit, whether it's a handwritten note, whether it's a flower arrangement or a gift card to go out to dinner, it's different for every company and certainly for every single, like, complaint, but having this standard process, I think behind the scenes, when you are a well-oiled machine and you have processes in place and everyone is communicating accordingly, then you know what the remedy is for any type of complaint. Because for the most part, complaints fall into the same buckets. And that kind of leads me into just making sure that departments are communicating accordingly. Just behind the scenes, when everybody is on the same page, and although, a maintenance tech might not need to be communicating with somebody on the guest services team every single day, it does create, one, internal empathy with departments when everybody knows what the other person's job is, but also when everyone is on the same page about specific guests and specific things that are going on within the company, that everything trickles back down to the guest. And I feel like it's very clear in an experience that you're having as a guest, if the team is not communicating with one another and if departments aren't making sure that they're on the same page with each other. God, I fear that I'm doing a lot of rambling, but this is certainly the list that we came up with. So it's a brain dump. Okay. What can I say? I talked a lot with Clark about feeling excited with a guest. And honestly, like, this is the biggest thing that we noticed at Sugar Beach. And there were some team members who we had great experiences with, but it was probably 50-50 team members who looked and definitely seemed like they would rather be anywhere else than working. And this had the biggest impact on us because we were so excited. We were coming off our wedding. We had flown all this way and had taken this time to be there together that the second that we met someone who wasn't excited, it felt super deflating to us. And not just like, oh, it's your honeymoon, but literally a friendly, welcoming face. We felt like multiple times we were almost like annoying, even just asking for a drink when we were like at the bar where you order a drink. And that was odd for us at a five-star hotel and or any hotel for that matter, right? When you're in hospitality, and of course, everybody has bad days, but I do think that it goes such a long way acting excited for a guest and seeming genuinely happy that they're on vacation. And, it kind of goes back to, like, how can we create this culture in our company that when our guest services team answers 50 calls in a day, that call number 50 doesn't feel like they're call number 50. They feel like they're call number 1. And this mix of recognizing like we're all human and things are going to happen sometimes, but also we're in the hospitality business. Our job is to be a friendly face. Our job is to make people feel welcome, is to be excited for people on vacation. That is this business of what we've got, of what we're in, right? That doesn't make any sense. That's the business we're in? Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. This mentality of how can we make this the most special experiences for our guest is so important. And I think that rewarding the people on your team who are always welcoming to guests and who are always excited and this smiling face when that a guest gets to talk to, you can often you can hear a smile through the phone. And I think that's so important because a lot of times we don't get face-to-face interaction with guests. Make sure that you're rewarding that person and that you are saying how excited you are to have somebody on the team that makes people feel welcome. And I think that when you reward internally for that and you train accordingly, that starts to trickle down. And of course, like when people are happy at work, they're happier with guests on the phone. And this is probably the most simple thing. It doesn't cost a lot to be nice and be excited for someone. And when I think about unreasonable hospitality, like connecting with guests and just being super friendly is the easiest and the fastest thing you can do to being hospitable. And I think this is my last point is a little goes a long way. So when we checked into the Nobu Hotel, we like mentioned, oh yeah, we're on the last leg of our honeymoon. Like we're just staying here for a couple nights. And by the time we had gotten up to our room, we had a handwritten note from the guest services manager and 2 bottles of Prosecco, and it just felt so special, like, this thing that we had mentioned. I mean, we didn't even really consider this our honeymoon, it was more of, like, a stop on the way back home. We're gonna stop in Miami for a couple nights, and the hotel, like, as soon as we said something, did something quickly, and a handwritten note for them, like, it probably took the manager 2 minutes to write it. It doesn't cost anything. How much does one of those, like, stock cards cost? And, like, 2 mini bottles of Prosecco. It was low impact, low cost, and low effort, and it meant so much to us. And it is just, like, making a guest feel seen in the best way possible, like, a little really does go a long way. What are some things you can do that are relatively inexpensive and that don't take a lot on the operational side that a guest thinks, "Oh my god, this is really cool." And this can also just be like recognizing who a guest is and remembering things about them, taking a note when you talk to them on the phone. And then the next time you talk to them, say, "Oh my gosh, how was your birthday yesterday?" Or, "I know you mentioned you were going to try the red bar. How was it?" It just, it feeling seen is the only thing that we can ask for in hospitality, really, right? Like that is what it really means, is to be seen and to feel welcome. And so, I guess, like, 2 biggest takeaways, of course, anticipating needs and making sure that you're communicating expectations and that you're, making sure that an experience is as intimate as possible for a guest, right? Like, you wanna make sure that they feel just as important as anybody else. And, my goal is always, like, how can we make a guest feel like they're the only guest here? Not in an entitled way, right? But just in an experience way. But the 2 things, right? If you feel like you're working with a smaller budget and you're just doing the best you can, being a smiling face and doing something that doesn't seem like a whole lot but means a whole lot to a guest, like those are things that you can do immediately, that you can start tomorrow, that I promise you a guest will leave and say, "Oh my god, that is I just talked to the nicest person on the phone and, like, this is the best hotel I've ever been to. They remembered that I went to the Red Bar for dinner last night, and I feel really seen by them, and I hope that we come and stay with them next year, or we are gonna come and stay with this company next year." I know that was super rambly, and I mainly just wanted to talk to you about the wedding and honeymoon and say that I'm so excited, for this post-wedding Workflows and Espressos era. I'm gonna have to find something else to talk about, but we had such a great time. We were able to really disconnect, I guess I should say, and connect with each other and talk about hospitality and the kind of vacations that we wanna take and what makes vacation so exciting for us, and it is so fun to be a guest again and to put yourself in that mental space. And so, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my rambling for the last 25 minutes. Thank you so much for listening. And let's freaking do it at Darm this week. I can't wait to see anyone that's here and have a guest on the podcast. And we're going to be back with regular content next week. So let's do it. Bye.